should we be giving the people that run tech companies complete and total authority and power over the public domain? The way these platforms work together to ban somebody overnight, completely remove them.
It's not overnight.
Well, it may not be overnight, but it's
not overnight.
It's over
a long.
Right, the way
I'm sure it's been debated for a long time.
Sure. My only concern is that unaccountable people being able to do something completely without any type of transparency as a standard for the whole country is, to me, itself problematic in that sense. When you remove the president of the United States, you have elevated yourself. You are now above, some of the most powerful people in the world as this company. I didn't think his shelf life was going to be long either way.
I didn't either.
Whether he was banned or not.
I am surprised it happened so fast.
Tim Dillon went on the H3 podcast, and we're going to talk about it.
You ready for this one?
I don't even know.
What's up, everybody? Tate Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so Tim Dillon went on the H3 podcast, and while I think that Ethan and Hila are both intelligent people, I don't think they're very smart people. I don't think they have a lot of real common sense. I don't think they're able to carry conversations outside of an echo chamber, and Tim is kind of breaking up their whole thinking because they have this one way that they see things, and they're used to dealing with less intelligent people or people that are on their podcast because of clout. Tim doesn't need them for any of that. So that completely strips away any power that they would usually have going into the conversation. So they're kind of stuck because they don't know how to deal with somebody that's not in any way conceding to them, and then at the same time, not the kind of person that they can discount as being dumb or being on a particular side, because Tim has no loyalty to Andrew Tate other than the fact that they're dating.
I'm dating him. Is that okay?
Did I lie? He said it himself. And that's just what I've gathered from the bits and pieces that I've seen of their podcast. I will admit, I'm not a regular H3 watcher. I don't find either of them particularly interesting. The people that they talk to, I don't find particularly interesting. Full disclosure, I am friends with Tim Dillon. When I saw this clip, I was like, I want to check it out and just see what they're saying, because when it comes to the Andrew Tate situation, which, for anybody that's not familiar with Andrew Tate, he just recently got banned off of social media. Tim had referred to that on the last episode of the Tim Dillon Show, his own podcast, and he had talked about the Andrew Tate situation and him being banned. Andrew Tate got banned off of all platforms on social media, and it all happened kind of quick. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, he's been banned off of all. Even people that were sharing his stuff, some of them have started getting banned. So that's what's going on with the situation, and that's what they're going to discuss in this episode, and that's what I had feelings on. I don't normally watch H3 podcasts, but when the clip showed up on my YouTube recommended, of course I was going to watch it, because I'm always interested to get Tim's take on topics, especially like these, because he injects fun into everything, and I think that there's several opportunities that Ethan and Hila miss to just have fun with Tim and to keep it light and kind of let Tim do what he does, because if they really let him do what he does, he would have knocked it out of the park for them. That's what Tim does. Joe Rogan himself stays out of Tim's way when Tim is going on a rant, because it's just so much fun to watch. So you just let him be fun, be crazy, be Tim Dillon, and then everything you want to happen, everything you want to get from the episode, you're going to get from the episode. But instead, Ethan and Hila keep trying to redirect it to their hate for Andrew Tate, which isn't what Tim's about. Anybody that knows Tim Dillon, anybody that watches his videos would know that he doesn't really obsess about people unless it's a lesbian couple that has rented him a house and gets him deplatformed from Airbnb. Outside of that, he really doesn't obsess on people. Like, there's points in the conversation where Tim might as well just say, I'm not talking about Andrew Tate, I'm talking about the idea of big tech being able to censor us. And from my point of view, they were trying to turn it into like Tim Dillon was coming out in defense of Andrew Tate, which if you saw when Tim Dillon talked about that, if you know his podcast, Tim usually will take current events and then discuss the idea around the current event rather than the actual person. person. It's like he's talking about it, but he's not talking about it. And he makes a lot of jokes and he takes everything in a silly way. And I think one of the reasons that because even though I'm friends with Tim, I'm a huge fan of his podcast. And I think what a lot of the people that watch his podcast like is that Tim really seems to get that everything is a joke. You can't take anything seriously. And so you might as well just have fun with it, discuss it as an idea, and get past it. So I pulled a couple of clips because there were a few things that did bother me about the way Ethan and Gila went at it. There's even the beginning of that part of the conversation where he says,
You don't need to agree with me.
But you can tell that he really desperately wants Tim to agree. And let me know down below if you think that I'm reading too much into it. When Gila said,
if you take into context also that he's done sex trafficking.
No, he was accused of sex trafficking, or somebody had his house swatted and they took him and his brother in for questioning. They released both of them. So if you want to say that he was accused of sex trafficking, but to say that he's done sex trafficking, you don't really know that. He's not in jail. He's not served time for it. He hasn't been convicted of it. So you really can't say that. So now, not only do I not like the way either of you come at anything, I don't even trust you as a reliable source for the information. When Tim is talking about the Ukraine and Russia,
social media companies allow people to say things about Russian people. Not only Putin, they were able to say hateful things about Russian people during the onset of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Ethan can't concentrate, and you can tell he's having trouble wrapping his mind around very, very simple conversation that Tim's throwing at him just to give a reference.
You're saying you couldn't support Russia?
No, you could say anything you wanted to about Russia. You could say kill all Russia. You could say all that stuff. I think a lot of these standards are unevenly applied because it's very difficult to apply standards evenly.
Wait, how is it? I'm confused about what were people being censored about in the Ukraine?
And it's because Ethan is so stuck on wanting to talk about Andrew Tate that he can't take anything in. It's one of the things that I really hate about conversation with people that aren't trying to have a conversation. They're just trying to impress one idea on you or one style of thinking on you. They're not taking anything in because the only thing they're thinking about is their prefabricated argument to whatever it is they thought you were going to say back. So, of course, you can't concentrate. Tim is having a conversation where you are trying to deliver a sermon. So, of course, that's not going to go well. And then there's also the point where Ethan says,
and the whole like notion of like the battle of ideas or whatever, good ideas beat bad ideas. I think we've learned that's not really happening, is it?
Well,
on the internet, it doesn't really happen.
And that's because of people like you, Ethan. It's ironic that you would be the person to bring that up, because you are exactly that. You're the person that doesn't allow anything to go in, so there's not really any conversation. And that's why I say you're like the old school thinking on YouTube. You're the old school thinking on social media, because social media has evolved to where more people are starting to have actual conversations and more people are into actually exchanging ideas rather than just being committed to their own one way of thinking. That's what I've noticed on social media, and especially YouTube has changed quite a bit. So while you and Hila are stuck on this old school style of just like, I say this and nobody can argue with me and I'll always be right, the rest of the internet has moved on. And that's why you're getting less viewers than you used to get, and people talk about your channel dying. Now, compared to a channel like mine, you're still doing great. And I'm sure you'll always have your core audience. But as far as you bringing on new subscribers, that's not really going to happen like that anymore, because you guys are stuck on this old school style of thinking. You guys want to stick to one thing and only talk about that one thing. It was Trisha Paytas before, which that I saw like all over YouTube. You and Trisha Paytas had this thing going. Trisha Paytas, for anyone that's not familiar, internet personality, YouTube specific. She's kind of taken a hit in views lately, and people aren't really watching her stuff either, because all these people, their time is past in YouTube. It's no longer the thing. So while they want to be arguing with each other all the time and be that toxic side, a lot more people are a lot more open to, like I said, just different ideas. So I know you have this thing where it's like, I just want to keep going after people and I just want to convince everybody that this person is the worst person in the world. I guess keep doing that, but I don't think that that's going to be the most effective strategy moving forward. Then there's also when Hila says,
I'm a woman.
Yes,
You're not.
right.
It doesn't affect you. So,
well, it does in the sense that we all live in a society. I don't want women
but what I
mistreated.
but it doesn't affect you like it does me.
What I
I'm a
wanted to
woman.
say-
Yeah.
He hates me
And you know what's really going to be insulting to Hila is when she realizes that Andrew Tate probably doesn't even think about her as a woman. What a lot of people don't understand about Andrew Tate and the stuff he's saying about women is he's talking about dimes. And I hate to categorize women that way. I really don't. It's just the way some of us talk. But he's talking about dimes. And Hila, while she may be okay at the PTA meetings or something like that, when it comes to her against the kind of girls that Andrew Tate is dealing with, which are bad bitches, Hila doesn't even figure in. She doesn't even register. She doesn't even make a tick on the scale. It's just like, yeah, I guess you're okay, Hila. Like, you landed Ethan, which... whatever that's worth. Let me put it this way. Nobody's paying $4.99 a minute to talk to that bitch. That's what I'll tell you. It is what it is. And then Tim brings it back and he's like,
listen, what he's doing, if it's human trafficking, 100%, that's
There's
it.
no if.
and then she's like, there's no if. Well, we already discussed that a few minutes ago. So now you're doubling down on the fact that you don't really know what you're talking about, or you're just saying things that you know aren't true. You're spreading misinformation when you say there's no if. Do you not know how things work out legally, or do you not know how things are determined legally? And then Tim says that maybe Andrew Tate is joking, trolling, whatever. And then she's like,
He's not a comedian.
well, neither is Ethan. But when he says things that are off color, suddenly we're all supposed to take him as he's joking. Why are we supposed to give Ethan comedic license and not Andrew Tate? You can't apply it to one and not the other. But it's like I said, they just keep having to come back to Andrew Tate because their thing is about their hate for Andrew Tate. And Tim is trying to talk about the idea of big tech being able to censor people at their whim. And so when they're like,
I feel like that could be a solid thing to talk about, but we can talk about it not when we're talking about Andrew Tate.
it's like, no, you're the one that's off in this conversation. You're the one that's not understanding. Tim isn't there at that point to discuss Andrew Tate. That's not what his thing is. He's talking about the idea, and you guys are trying to talk about the person. So you guys keep trying to redirect it to the most low-level part of the entire conversation, while Tim is trying to discuss the actual thinking and the idea behind it. And you guys are the ones that can't make the shift. Now that's you two not knowing how to have the conversation that you're pretending that you want to have. Then they bring up the fact that kids aren't listening to their female teachers. And it's like, didn't we just have that problem not too long ago in the college where the kids were threatening the professors for using certain words, discussing certain things, and referred to the professors moving their hands as microaggressions? But nobody got banned off social media for that. So now that 11-year-olds are telling female teachers, which I don't even know if I believe these stories, like an 11-year-old saying that a woman is living off men and he's paying his way like a good man, and it's like 11 they're talking about that, because I don't know many 11-year-olds that have jobs or think about things like that. So I don't know if I even believe that clip that got put up. Anybody can put anything on TikTok. I could go on TikTok and say I'm a teacher. It doesn't mean that it actually did happen. Then Ethan says certain people should be able to be banned, like for homophobia, things like that. And it's like, Ethan just got in trouble not too long ago for using the term bottom in a derogatory way. Now, some people could say that that's homophobic. So does Ethan deserve to be banned from social media because he used the term bottom in a derogatory way, and for a while even doubled down on it and told people that they were being too sensitive? Now, again, why is it we're supposed to constantly give Ethan the benefit of the doubt, but when it comes to Andrew Tate, we're supposed to assume everything he's saying is 100% what he believes and in no way trolling? It doesn't make sense. Then he refers to something that he said, and what he said was,
do we have any insight into what they're actually talking about there at the NRA meeting that's today in Texas? Someone should that building.
So if you can say that and then you double down on it a few seconds later in the conversation and say, would that be such a bad thing? I don't know if you can be trusted in that way either, because you're not even showing remorse for having said something. I can understand if you said, like, in the moment I thought I was joking, or in the moment I was just saying something and I got carried away, I let my emotions get the best of me. But when you actually a couple weeks later still double down on it and say, would that be the worst thing? And you still think you're being funny. Now again, by Hila's standards, since you're not a comedian, you shouldn't really be joking that way, right? Then he decides to try to come at it a different way and acts like he's protecting women. When nothing else is working, then he goes at it from the perspective of nobody's protecting women, so we're here to protect women. Okay, but in the past, have you not said derogatory things about women? Have you not said things that could be considered dangerous to women? Let's not forget that Ethan has also said
women are in a nature setting, like, to be conquered.
Is that far off of what Andrew Tate has been saying? And when it comes to the Andrew Tate situation specifically, that woman has come out and said,
"Hello everyone, I just wanted to say something about the video that's been released recently about me and my ex-boyfriend Andrew Tate. Andrew is my still great friend. What you guys saw in the video, it's just what we used to do. It was just pure game. He's a great guy. He would never hurt anyone unless he's fighting."
To me, she looks pretty in control of herself. So I don't really know why this woman can't say, this is something that I consented to. And yeah, maybe not everybody would understand it, but not everybody has to understand that what other people are into sexually. And if the person says that it was consensual, I would believe that they're consensual. And how are we supposed to make that distinction? Like, are women strong and in control of themselves, or are they just being controlled at every moment by a man? And doesn't that kind of negate what you're actually saying about women and them being able to have autonomy or give consent or decide what it is they do and don't want, or be able to tell you what it is that actually happened? Like, at this point, we're not supposed to believe her at all because she's either being paid or she's still under threat. This woman can't have meant what she's saying when she's saying that she actually gave consent. Doesn't really make sense to me, but I guess it doesn't have to. So then at the end of this part of the segment, that's when Hila lets you know that she really doesn't pay attention to anything. And that was the problem for me with Ethan and Hila in this whole thing, is that they clearly haven't actually watched the long versions, because if you watch the short clips of things Andrew Tate says, yes, they are inflammatory. But if you watch the longer version, he does have a point to what he's saying, and it's not just being inflammatory for the sake of it. Now, at the end, whether or not you agree with him or his way of life or the way that he sees things, that's a complete different thing. I'm not at all an Andrew Tate stan. Do I think Andrew Tate is a good-looking guy? Yes. Do I think he sometimes gives some good advice? Yes, I definitely do. Do I sometimes think that if some people would take some of the things that he said, the way that they're meant, and actually apply them to their own lives, could they have a better life? Yes, I definitely do. When they talk about Hustlers University being a pyramid scheme, you get a referral fee. You get a referral fee from the gym. So is that a pyramid scheme? Almost every apartment building I've ever lived in has given me a referral fee, sometimes as much as $200. You got $5 for signing somebody up or getting somebody to sign up for Hustlers University. Use your link. Is my apartment building and every apartment building I've ever lived in a pyramid scheme? Is everything a pyramid scheme? Then at the very end of that particular part of the segment, Ethan says social media is not essential, which is kind of ironic coming from a person who makes probably all of their money directly and indirectly off of YouTube, which is social media. Everything they do is somehow connected to social media, yet they're somehow saying that it's not essential. Okay, well then get off social media and let's see what happens to Teddy Fresh. Let's see how you do without podcast money, and then tell me that it's not essential. Oh, and then one of the last things Tim says that I think is very important: social media may not be essential, but you definitely do need it in certain cases if you want to be a part of the conversation. And to me, that is one of the most important things that he says, because that is the way a lot of us use social media. It is the town square. It is where you go to be part of the conversation. And I think that every idea does deserve to be heard, or at least have the opportunity to be heard. And if you don't like it, then you can block that user. It's on you whether or not you pay attention to these things. People like Ethan and Hila really drive me crazy in certain ways, because they're the people that think that if they don't agree with something, then nobody should hear it. And I feel like if you don't agree with something, then you don't listen to it. But they can't help but pay attention to it. They have to pay attention to it. And then they want to blame other people and be like, well, because we don't want to hear this anymore, because we don't want to have to cover this, which they don't have to cover it. They just feel like they do because they know they're going to get clicks for it. But if they really stood against it that way, they just wouldn't be part of that conversation, and they can't stand to not be a part of the conversation. But at the same time, they can't handle the conversation. And if you ask me, the thing that Ethan probably really hates about Andrew Tate is that he's everything that Ethan's not. And I I think that the old school social media people, the reason that a lot of them are really against Andrew Tate is because they feel like this. You were the good-looking guy in high school. You're the athlete. You're the guy that actually has all the cool toys. You're the guy that gets all the girls. You get to be that in real life. On social media, I'm the king. I'm the one that people pay attention to. And now you're going to come in and take that from me too? So let me say, I think Tim Dillon did Ethan and Hila a huge favor by even doing their show in the first place, because Tim is so above these two buffoons in the way that he thinks and the way that he talks and just the level of entertainment that he brings. And here he comes volunteering to lower himself. And I do mean volunteering to lower himself, because this podcast is definitely beneath him. You keep seeing it over and over in the fact that these two buffoons can't have an actual conversation about an idea. They've got to keep bringing it back to a person. They've got to keep bringing it back to the lowest common denominator. Ooh, I don't like him. And it's like, outside of your little followers that still watch you, which are dwindling, nobody cares what you do and don't like Ethan and Hila. You're old school thinking. You're outdated. You're the old software. Tim Dillon is the new software. He's the update. He's the upgrade. You guys are stuck back during the old days, and Tim is smart enough to have figured out that everything's a joke and nothing matters. So anyway, that's the way I felt about that situation. And those are just some inconsistencies that I saw when I was watching that particular segment. The whole appearance, I think, was over 2 hours. The clip I watched was 33 minutes. I'll put the full clip down below in the description box, so if you guys want to see it, you guys can watch it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I definitely do appreciate it. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you've made it this far in the video. This has been Tate Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.